If GoHighLevel SaaS doesn't work, it's usually because people quit right at the exact moment they're supposed to get uncomfortable. And before you decide the platform is the problem, before you assume the market is saturated, before you convince yourself that SaaS is dead or that local businesses just aren't buying right now, we need to have an honest conversation about what actually happens in the first 90 days of building something like this. If you're new here, I'm Allie Bloyd. I've built multiple seven-figure businesses using systems like GoHighLevel. I've worked with thousands of local business owners, agency owners, and coaches over the past several years. I've won SaaSpreneur Awards, Affilianaire Awards, spoken at major industry events, and built recurring revenue models from scratch more than once. But what matters more than any of that is this. I've watched hundreds of people attempt to build this exact type of business. Some scaled quickly, some scaled slowly, some plateaued, and a large number quit. And the difference between the ones who succeeded and the ones who didn't was not intelligence. It wasn't access to software. It wasn't funding. It wasn't even prior experience. It was emotional durability during the uncomfortable phase. One of the biggest mistakes I see in 2026 is that people get distracted by the wrong metrics of progress. They think building a SaaS business is about mastering workflows, understanding every AI feature, creating complex dashboards, designing perfect pipelines, and having beautifully structured automations. And while those things absolutely matter later, they do not matter first. Early on, there is only one skill that determines whether you survive long enough to build the rest of it: client acquisition. Peter Drucker famously said, "The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer." Notice what he didn't say? He didn't say the purpose of a business is to perfect your back-end architecture. He didn't say the purpose is to build the cleanest CRM in your niche. He said create and keep a customer. I regularly see people spend 2 to 4 weeks building what they call a perfect snapshot. They have conditional logic. They have multi-step automations. They have tags triggering other tags triggering internal notifications. They've customized the pipeline stages down to color coordination. And when I ask them how many sales conversations they've had, the answer is usually 0. You do not learn what to build by building in isolation. You learn what to build by talking to the market. If you speak to 10 HVAC owners and 7 of them tell you they are missing calls after hours and losing jobs to competitors who answer faster, that is your signal. Now you build a missed call text back and booking automation. If you talk to 5 med spa owners and 3 of them tell you they are generating leads, but nobody is following up fast enough to convert, that's your signal. Now you build a rapid response and nurture sequence. Acquisition teaches you clarity. Setup without acquisition teaches you fantasy. And here's the important part. Once you learn how to get one client, you do not start from 0 again. That skill compounds. You learn how to identify pain. You learn how to position a solution. You learn how to handle objections. You learn what people actually value. That's leverage. Most people never build that leverage because they hide in setup. Setup feels productive. Setup feels safe. Setup avoids rejection, but revenue does not come from feeling safe. In 2026, I see 2 very distinct paths people take when they start this journey. The first path is overwhelm and eventual quitting. This is the I'll sell everything approach. They position themselves as a full stack solution from day one. They say, we do funnels, workflows, AI automations, ads, websites, CRM builds, onboarding systems, reporting dashboards, and backend integrations. On paper, it sounds impressive. In practice, it creates confusion. Donald Miller has a line I reference often: if you confuse, you lose. When your prospect doesn't clearly understand what problem you solve and what outcome you deliver, their brain defaults to inaction. It's not that they're not buying, it's that they're not clear. So what happens? They send 10 cold messages. No one replies. They assume the market isn't interested. They change niches, they pivot offers, they tweak branding, they blame ad costs, they switch tools, they repeat the cycle. Eventually, they conclude the opportunity is dead. The second path is focus and momentum. These people choose one niche. They choose one painful, obvious problem. They anchor their message around one measurable outcome. Instead of saying, I build SaaS systems, they say, I help roofing companies recover lost revenue from missed calls using automated follow-up. Now, the conversation is concrete. It's not abstract software. It's recovered money. They test messaging. At first, they get ignored. They adjust. They refine. They try again. They improve their positioning. They improve their clarity. They improve their delivery. Over time, they start getting replies, then conversations, then closes. Success doesn't come from genius. It comes from sustained iteration without quitting. James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Testing consistently is a system. Quitting resets the system. Now let's address the part that nobody likes talking about. What happens if it doesn't scale immediately? Because that's usually where doubt creeps in. You launch, you test, you reach out, you maybe get one client, maybe none, maybe a couple, and you start questioning everything. You question the niche, you question the pricing, you question yourself, you start wondering if you're cut out for this. But here's what most people don't see clearly enough. Even in what feels like slow progress, you're building assets that compound. Worst case scenario, you don't hit $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue in the first few months. But what do you gain? You gain real automation skills that are transferable anywhere. You gain actual sales experience instead of theoretical sales knowledge. You gain objection handling reps. You gain positioning clarity. You gain insight into how real businesses think and make decisions. And those skills are more valuable than the first few $1,000s you're obsessing over. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly 20% of small businesses fail within the first year, and about 50% fail within a few years. The primary reasons cited are cash flow mismanagement, lack of product market fit, and weak customer acquisition. Notice what's not on that list. It's not software was too advanced. It's not CRM was too complicated. It's not AI tools were overwhelming. It's market alignment and acquisition. When you're building a high-level based SaaS model, if you're consistently talking to the market and refining your offer around real problems, you are dramatically lowering your risk profile. Even if the revenue is slow at first, the skill set is strengthening, and that skill set, acquisition, clarity, positioning, is what protects you long term. Best case scenario, you build recurring revenue, you build predictable systems, you build leverage, you move from trading time for money into owning infrastructure. You create an asset that can scale without proportional labor. But even if growth is slower than expected, you are not losing unless you stop. The only permanent failure in this model is quitting before anything compounds. Let's talk about rejection, because this is where most people emotionally unravel. You send a message, no response. You book a call, they say they're not interested. You present your offer, they say they already have someone, or now's not the right time, or we'll think about it. And if you don't have the right mental framing, you internalize that. You start thinking, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I don't sound confident. Maybe this isn't for me. But rejection in business is not a personal verdict. It's information. If you speak to 10 HVAC companies and 6 of them say, we already have a marketing company, that doesn't mean there's no opportunity. It means your positioning needs to evolve. You might shift to, I help HVAC companies replace underperforming agencies by focusing specifically on missed call recovery and automated follow-up. And now you're not competing head-on with generic marketing, you're attacking a specific gap. If 5 business owners say, now's not the time, that's not a closed door. That's either a timing objection or a perceived urgency problem. That tells you that your messaging might need stronger proof, clearer ROI framing, or a more immediate financial angle. Every no is narrowing your clarity. The problem is that most people expect momentum before they have proof. They want the confidence of a seasoned operator without earning the experience of becoming one. Momentum doesn't come first. The first yes comes after enough reps. The first consistent month comes after enough refinement. Rejection is not failure. It's part of the filtering process, and the people who win in this space are not the ones who avoid rejection. They're the ones who use it as feedback and stay steady. Most people quit in what I call the quiet phase, that stretch where nothing dramatic is happening, no viral wins, no huge months, just steady testing and incremental improvement. And ironically, that quiet phase is usually right before traction begins. Let's zoom out and put this into context. A roofing company owner risks trucks, tools, equipment, insurance, fuel costs, payroll, workers' comp, weather delays, supply chain issues, and physical liability. A restaurant owner risks inventory spoilage, lease obligations, staffing shortages, rising food costs, and thin margins. A retail store owner risks rent, foot traffic variability, seasonal shifts, and inventory management. Traditional business owners often invest hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, into build-outs, leases, and physical infrastructure before they ever see consistent profit. Now compare that to starting a SaaS or systems-based business using GoHighLevel. Your overhead is minimal, your risk is primarily emotional. The biggest thing you're risking is hearing no. The capital requirement is dramatically lower than traditional business models. The scalability is higher. The margin potential is stronger once structured correctly. Mark Andreessen famously said, "Software is eating the world." And if you look around at local businesses in 2026, most of them are still running fragmented systems. They have missed calls. They have inconsistent follow-up. They have spreadsheets instead of structured CRMs. They rely on referral flow instead of predictable lead generation. The opportunity hasn't disappeared, but what has changed is the tolerance for impatience. Because the barrier to entry is lower, more people try and more people quit when results aren't instant. This is one of the lowest capital, highest leverage business models available right now. But leverage rewards discipline, not impulse. 2026 did not magically fix local business problems. Businesses still miss calls. They still fail to follow up. They still lose leads because no one responds fast enough. They still don't know which ads are actually profitable. They still rely too heavily on referrals. They still struggle with internal communication between marketing and sales. The tools are better than ever. AI features are stronger. Automation is easier to implement, but execution is still rare. And that's the key distinction. The opportunity isn't new. It isn't secret. It isn't revolutionary. It's practical. It's systematic. It's operational. The people who succeed in building SaaS-based recurring revenue businesses are not necessarily the smartest in the room. They are the most consistent. They are the most emotionally steady. They are the ones who stay in the uncomfortable phase long enough to sharpen their skill set. They understand that confidence comes from repetition, not inspiration. So if you're sitting there thinking, maybe this doesn't work, I want you to pause and ask yourself a better question. Have you truly committed to learning acquisition? Have you simplified your offer enough for the market to understand it? Have you tested consistently without pivoting every 2 weeks? Have you allowed yourself to go through the quiet phase without interpreting it as failure? Because the platform isn't the bottleneck. The market isn't saturated beyond possibility. The difference between stalled and scaling is usually clarity plus durability. If you want structure and implementation support, that's exactly why programs like Online Profits AI exist, to give you the systems, direction, and execution clarity instead of hype. If you want to go deeper into the mechanics of GoHighLevel, once you're committed, the ultimate GoHighLevel masterclass is there. And if you want hands-on guidance, getting everything set up properly. We're running a setup sprint, no artificial urgency, no pressure tactics, just a simple decision. Are you willing to stay long enough to win? Because the people who succeed here aren't operating with secret knowledge. They just didn't quit when it got quiet. And if this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.